Alright, I have found it quite strange, get it? Strange, that I've actually gone this long without talking about a single Batman villain. So, here it is. If I've been getting a lot of requests to talk about this guy, about this character. Uh, I guess mainly it's because of his actual role that he's going to be playing in the upcoming Batman game, Arkham City. But nevertheless, let's get underway. Let's get underway here. Professor Hugo Strange was the first villain that Batman had ever fought in the comic books. Like when Batman first appeared, when Bob Kane and Bill Finger were drawing him, he was mainly fighting criminals and gangsters and mafia crime bosses and stuff like that. But Strange was pretty much like the first the first supervillain E type character that he had ever fought. And he actually appeared in the Batman comics 2 months before both the Joker and Catwoman had made their debut. So just like Lex Luthor, I mean not Lex Luthor, but the Ultra Humanite for Superman, Hugo Strange was Batman's first ever arch nemesis that predates even the most famous of his proverbial rogues gallery. And just like Ultra Humanite, Hugo Strange was also a bald-headed mad scientist. I guess these types of characters were very popular supervillain archetypes during this time period. I mean, you got Lex Luthor, you got Ultra Humanite, you got Hugo Strange. It seems like the bald-headed mad evil scientist. This was just a really popular supervillain stereotype during that time. Yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna actually talk about both versions of Hugo Strange. There are many different versions of Strange throughout like all the different alternate universes and stuff. But I'm gonna talk about both his post and pre-crisis representations, incarnations, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but in the pre-crisis world, Hugo Strange was very much your stereotypical mad scientist, and he conducted all kinds of weird, horrific, hellish, Frankenstein-esque experiments. However, he's most notable for turning people into gigantic hulking monsters. Yeah, he's sort of uh, he's very smart. He's very manipulative. He's very malevolent, and worst of all, he's very obsessive towards Batman. In fact, he uses his so-called monster men, uh, who are basically his scientific creations, to roam through Gotham City and go on a rampage. Eventually, Batman eventually manages to stop Strange, and he seemingly kills him. However, in the 1970s, which was about like 30 years, like 20 or 30 years after Strange was supposedly killed off before, Strange actually appears again, miraculously. And here he actually opens up a hospital. And Bruce Wayne, who is actually suffering from radiation wounds due to a fight with the villain Dr. Phosphorus, which happened in the issue predating this one. Uh, After a whole bunch of research and of studying Bruce Wayne, who was actually knocked out and held captive in a cell in an underground basement in the hospital, Strange actually found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. And ever since acquiring this information, Strange has basically made Bruce Wayne's life a living hell. In fact, he tried to auction it off to a few of Batman's supervillains. He tried to auction it off to the Penguin, the Joker. However, probably the one guy that took it worse was Rupert Thorne, who was like the big crime boss of Gotham in the 70s comics. And Bruce Wayne, he manages to basically find a way to prove that Strange is wrong. He manages to if you've all seen the episode of the animated series, The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne, that's actually sort of based on this comic book arc. It's a little it's kind of loosely based on the comic book arc, but it does follow it somewhat close. There are a lot of things changed around, but the basic core and essence of the comic book story arc is kept true. Although at the end of the comic book arc, uh, whenever Bruce Wayne manages to thwart Strange's plan to reveal him as Batman, which I don't know how he does it. I can't remember how he does it, but Rupert Thorne gets really pissed off and he has Strange killed. So Thorne's men actually take Strange out into the country and they beat him to death and throw him into the river. And then later on, Hugo Strange actually comes back during the comic book story arc Strange Apparitions, where he gets revenge on Thorne. And that's basically all I wanted to say about his pre-crisis version. Now, his post-crisis version, the character is very, very similar to his pre-crisis version. However, the main difference is that this character has an absolute, complete obsession with Batman. Like, Hugo Strange in the past, he had been fascinated with Batman, but nowhere near as fascinated with Batman as this version. In fact, he was so obsessed with Batman that he actually wanted to kill Batman and become him. And he even went as far as to basically, later on, he would actually wear the Batman costume around wherever he went, simply because he was so vexed with Batman. He was so fascinated with the whole idea of Batman. And in fact, early on in Batman's career during the Prey story arc, which was still very early on in Batman's career, so early that Commissioner Gordon he wasn't actually Commissioner Gordon, he was actually Captain Gordon. And so the police enlisted the help of Hugo Strange, who had escaped a whole lot of complications with the Mafia, and since Strange was a self-appointed expert on Batman, the police actually hired him to try to locate and capture him. However, Strange turns out to be just as evil and maniacal and cruel as any one of Batman's arch nemeses. So he basically dresses up as Batman and frames him because he kills a few people and he kidnaps the mayor's daughter. However, Batman eventually manages to clear his name and prove that it was Strange who did that. But Strange, being the slippery bastard that he is, he managed to escape that, and he goes underground, conducting even more insane experiments and I like this. He actually becomes a doctor at Arkham Asylum, so he can actually experiment on people. However, in one of the later Batman storylines, Batman and the Monster Men, he's up to his old tricks again by creating gigantic monster people. And Batman manages to thwart his plans for that. He eventually tries to team up with the Scarecrow to try to kill Batman. However, that doesn't go as planned since the Scarecrow actually betrays Strange. And from then on, Strange he becomes a mental patient at Arkham Asylum. And he eventually manages to get out of that. Man, Strange. He really knows how to get out of difficult situations. And I think that his appearance in the upcoming Batman Arkham City, I think that that has the potential to for us to find out more about Strange and more about his unbelievably creepy infatuation with Batman. Because that's one thing that separates him from most of Batman's other villains, is that he's so creepily obsessed with Batman. And that's what makes him such a scary villain. Alright, later. Sorry, I actually forgot to mention something. I felt like I needed to bring this up, and I kind of want this to become a discussion. But since Strange is actually appearing in Arkham City, I actually wonder if maybe if any of you have played Arkham Asylum and know that in that game the Joker actually tampers with Bane's Venom formula to create big monsters and stuff. So I'm wondering, do you think that since Strange is actually going to appear in this game, do you think that Strange actually might have had something to do with the Titan formula creation in the first in Arkham Asylum? If he had actually made that chemical himself, if he was actually the one who drained all the venom from Bane's blood and actually used it to create a different kind of chemical that turns people into huge monsters. Because, as I stated before, that's one thing that Strange is known for. It's for conducting inhumane, absolutely sick, disgusting experiments on people by turning them into like Frankenstein-esque abominations. So I just wonder. I just kind of want this to be a little bitty discussion. Since the game doesn't come out for a while now, so it's just something I've been wondering about in the back of my mind. So I want to know what you all think too. All right. I'll take a look at some of the requests I have for other villain videos, and I'll think about who I'm going to do a video about next. Alright, see y'all later.